AI has a place for sure. It is going to create efficiencies. It's going to help people make decisions. But I guess the question, and we won't know this until we get farther down the road, but the question is, how many people is it going to replace?
Welcome to Nerdin Out with Cold Bore, where we dive into cutting-edge data shaping today's world and explore the innovative technology driving the energy industry. I'm Craig Bergman, introduced host Derek, and today we're joined by Josh Gray from Stage Completions. With a strong background in well services and completions, Josh brings hands-on experience and sharp insights into what's shaping the future of the field. From new tech to smarter operations, he's here to break it all down. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Well, Josh, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you tell us about yourself and your role at Stage?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been with Stage Completions since October 2018. Started in the field and worked myself through the shop and into the role I'm in now, so Business Development Manager for Canada. We have Downhole Interventionless completions. Of course, work alongside with Cold Bore and your crew. Long-standing relationship there, so we're pretty thankful to have a crew like yours team supporting our operations.
What can you tell me about the Stage solution and
so the Stage solution, obviously, we're in the market of interventionless systems, so we want to ensure that there's no extra runs in the wellbore that aren't needed. Right?
Is that's what interventionless means?
Yeah, of course. So we would compete directly with frac operations like plug and perf, pump down plug and perf. So our system obviously removes the need for wireline or coil intervention. So pumping a plug down, perforating guns, the whole 9 yards.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you see your system getting more traction since you started in 2018, or is it kind of leveled off at a certain point? Or
yeah, I mean, I think everybody in the industry is trying to evaluate, how they get a better frac, right? That's the ultimate goal, is to ensure that our customers have a good frac, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they're still in the midst of, determining which one, perforations or single point, gets them there. But as far as like efficiencies from a pumping perspective, getting guns down, switching wells, I mean, that's our MO. We're there to save you time, right? So
what are some of the hurdles in evaluating the performance of a system like this?
I think the verdict is still out on there, and then, like I say, I think they're still compiling data, and that takes some time to get, right? Mm-hmm. You need to understand, initial production, how long that production lasts, and at what rates it comes back to surface. So I don't know. There's some positive information out there now to prove that single point has a solid position in the market. So we're seeing a little bit more positivity surrounding switching to a single point entry frac, or limited entry, whatever you'd like to call it. So.
Yeah,
it does seem like there's more, and maybe it's wrong perspective, but from my perspective, it seems like there's more traction in Canada versus in the U.S. I've always been curious, like, what was the cause in that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the time of year, right? Like, we have some good traction in the States as well. Canada, of course, seems to be on the innovative keel of being the first to kind of switch from a P&P operation to interventionless, in the name of saving time, right? We're known to be quite innovative that way. The States is historically kind of stuck in the plug and perf. They're used to it, right? It's done them well, but it still does good.
It doesn't have much to do like downhole pressures or different lithology.
Yeah.
Geography,
formations. Yeah, is that come into play? Is that part of the reason? Just that we have deeper holes generally in Canada versus what we see in the U.S.?
No, I think depth is, like, of course, the States is pushing the depth limits as well. 3 mile laterals and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't think it's a depth thing, though our system does. That's kind of how we initially started selling the system, and how lots of the interventionalist guys play to the customer or pitch a a benefit to them is just that they don't have to get coil out to mill the plugs in the toe, right?
Gotcha.
So it's a great in, and it truly works, right? But of course, we'd like to convert your whole wellbore over, get you running some high efficiencies, cut your fluid costs down, remove the pump out.
Oh, right. And you can pump a collet farther than you can run wireline?
I mean, they're running wireline and taking coil to depths that we've never seen before, and they're doing really well with it.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, a collet can effectively travel as far as you can pump, right? So as they continue to push the boundaries of depths and leg lengths and stuff like that, horizontal leg lengths, yeah, the collet is gonna, take the market.
Gotcha.
That's what we hope.
So what excites you? Like, what's your nerd thing?
My nerd thing.
Yeah, your nerd thing. I heard a mutual friend said that you like metallurgy and.
I do, yeah. Actually, it was never something I got myself into. You know, of course, being in the field or coming from drilling or directional drilling background, but it was something I kind of became passionate about in my previous role as the production manager at Stage. I mean, it's an interesting thing, and there's a whole pile to know in that sort of the business, right? What metal belongs where, and what chemicals react, and treatments of steel, and all that sort of jazz. It's
Can you
pretty
give us a little tidbit? Like, are you getting into like martensitic and austenitic combinations and,
No,
and different treatments? Or?
No, I'm not. By no means am I trained in that facet, but yeah, it's cool. You know, often you get requests for steel requirements that have historically been around for years, right? An engineer 20 years ago wrote them in to the program, the engineering program, and they're on the drawings, and we require this. But the thing that I like to always ask or bring up is, well, what brings you to that requirement? Because, you know, of course, in our business, cost is important. Everybody's watching the cost. You want to drive costs down, maximize profits, right? So some of this material, when you write in a very high spec, it triples the cost. And of course, through COVID and stuff like that, material of that kind or that type, like a Q125 or even a C110, for example, was tough to get.
Can you explain those things that you just said, C110 or Q125?
Yeah, so a C110 will get you into sour service.
Okay.
And that's a 110 min KSI yield.
And is that a stainless or a
No, it's still
steel?
carbon steel, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then a Q125's right in there, can be used in some lower sour or salt water service brine application, but yeah, both are going to yield you a higher price, and especially if the markets are focused, like if the mills have switched to manufacturing like a 4140, then they're going to put all their focus into manufacturing that steel, right? And a small batch mill run might be set aside for a C110 or a Q125. So yeah, buying spot material on the market is limited. Sizes are limited, and the whole 9 yards. So yeah, that's my nerd note.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that. I don't know anything about that space. All these are new words for me. So I don't have a lot of questions.
And it goes deep, like, and then you get into surface treatments, right? Like gas nitriding, case carburizing, all that sort of stuff. These are all treatments you can give to the material to either back temper them to accept something else, or to harden the surface so it has higher erosional properties, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a big market.
Yeah. When we were directional, actually we both have directional backgrounds as well.
No, okay.
And so in my previous history, we were trying to build erosion resistant materials. So coming up with like a nitronic 50, and then we'd QPQ it and look at doing a cryogenic treatment on it to get all the metals lining up in the right way. And you know, it's really cool because the material, it looked neat, but also it had like a hardness of 80, which I heard is pretty hard.
Yeah.
And so we'd run it for a couple of runs, and then the third, fourth, fifth run, as soon as we had 1 point of erosion, the whole thing would just wash out because it's only a couple microns thick
Right.
of surface hardening. So the question was, how do you get enough penetration that once the surface layer went away, the rest of it didn't just evaporate?
Right. Was this on like copper beryllium?
No, this was on fancy stainless.
Oh, okay. So not MWD tools.
Yes, MWD tools.
Okay, cool.
But we still had the beryllium tubings, but the things like the bottom end for a positive pulse tool, for example, we were making that all out of different exotic stainlesses like Inconel, Nitronic.
Yeah, like the plenum.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so we got quite into that.
Yeah, we're getting pretty nerdy now for sure.
Fantastic. Did you only drill in Canada, US? Did you go overseas?
Yeah, just Canada. I had an opportunity to go to Texas, but it didn't really end up coming to fruition.
And you were rig hand itself, or you just did directional?
No, I was a rig hand. Yeah, started on a scrub brush and went right to the controls. So.
Yeah, what do I do now? Well, you start over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I'll never. I had a bit. I had 8 days as a roughneck. That was it.
Oh, nice.
That's all.
And what were your thoughts? How did you feel?
First of all, the driller that I was on, he had an endless supply of swear words to share with me.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and all of them were about how useless I was as a human being.
Did you get a nickname?
No, I didn't make it there yet. The thing, I have a couple of little tidbits I'll never forget. One was working the tongs, and the driller, he didn't understand how to communicate to me. He's like, push, pull.
Yeah.
That's it. And he just yell at me endlessly. He's like, push, pull, nothing else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't understand. Like, I can't comprehend what he meant.
It's kind of a tough thing if you've never handled tongs before. Yeah?
Right?
Was he screaming, make a bite?
Yeah, make a bite, push,
Make a
pull,
bite, yeah.
Get out of the way, duck. They're still spinning chain at that time.
For sure.
For those at home, if we're using this clip. for those, we used to. Were you on a rig when they spun chain?
No, only tongs.
But you spun chain when you started.
No. I was spoiled. Super single.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What they used to do is you'd have a piece of drill pipe sticking out of the ground underneath the rig floor, and they would wrap a piece of chain around it. They'd put a new piece of drill pipe into it, and they'd flip the chain so that it bit on the upper piece of drill pipe, and then they'd pull on the chain really fast, and that would cause the drill pipe to spin into the bottom pipe.
Yeah.
But that was like the number one remover of fingers out in the oil patch. That was not safe, because you had to hold the chain while they're pulling it at high speed. Once it bit, then you could let go of it.
Get your hands on there, make sure it didn't whip around. Yep.
That's right. And you just get your hand in there and just pull a finger right off.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still spinning chain at that time. And so there was a couple. One, I worked, and the one driller, he was very communicative about my capabilities as a human being. And then I did a week there, and then there was a shift out, and they asked if I would stay for an extra couple of days onto the next shift, because for some reason they lost a roughneck.
Imagine.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And the next driller was so nice. And
that's usually how it works.
And that's what got me. He was so nice. He's like, let me explain to you what you're doing. And like within 15, 20 minutes, I could make tongs work at that point.
Yeah.
7 days with driller A, useless. Could not figure it out.
Yeah.
Driller B, 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand. And then it was the idea of going back to that guy.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I'm good.
So did you have to do the chain at all?
No, I wasn't privileged enough to spin the chain.
That's probably for the best.
That's probably for the best. I got all 10.
Your fingers, yeah.
That's right. And then the other part was there was one night, it was a slow night. They were doing a single shot run, and 12-hour shift, did nothing. And minus 10 outside, and they're like, here's water, here's a scrub brush, here's soap. When it freezes, go get new water. And that's what I got to do, was I got to basically icify the entire rig.
Yep, nice. Did they tape the scrub brush to your hands?
No, I didn't get that. And but did you go north at all, like Fort Liard, anywhere fun like that?
Worsley was my very first experience. We moved the rig from Alderside, just south of Calgary here, all the way up to Worsley. So that was my first week. North of Grand Prairie.
Okay.
Yep.
In the fun zone?
Yep. Helmet was the farthest I made it.
I never did Helmet. I did Fort Liard for like a couple of months, but I never made it to helmet.
Yeah.
The Fort Liard, we could see the border of the territories, but I never actually crossed into it.
Right.
But it was gorgeous driving out there. It was middle of winter, minus 35, minus 40, and it was just ice road, and everything was frosted over. It was just, that was beautiful.
I think that's probably my favorite thing about working in the oil patch, right? Whether it's fracking or servicing or drilling, like it doesn't matter. You get to explore, right?
Yes.
You get to see what Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan. I mean, of course, the states are international, but you get a new respect for what we have here.
That's
for
right.
beauty, yeah.
Absolutely. Until you have to go to Midland, and then you're like, this isn't as fun.
I'm actually flying out to Midland today.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, there you go. Like, wow, there's a lot of desert. Oh, there's more desert. Okay.
Oh, wow. Is that your dog?
The best for me is sitting on the road between Grand Prairie and Dawson. It's like I can see the rig,
But you don't know how to get there.
but I don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
So you go down some road and you cross a little thing, and it's like, all right, the road's done. The rig's still there. It's like midnight.
Yeah.
Fog's rolled in, and I can't turn around.
No, for sure.
What do I do now?
The first couple weeks I had was, tough. Three Hills area, same idea. You're driving up in the winter. You can see the crown. Yeah. You can see the lights in the derrick, but can you find the rig? No. And you show up late, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
There's no sort of anxiety that compares to pulling up to the rig the first couple weeks.
Reading their directions, they're like, how does someone supposed to follow this?
It's like go 20.6 kilometers off of this road, take a hard right, and you're sitting there and there's a Y, and you're like,
at the cattle guard, do a U-turn, and
I don't understand how to follow this. Are my tires bigger? Like, is it 20.8 and it reads 20.6? Like, yeah. All right, let's talk. And somehow we got here. So the story here is that Builder.AI was a Microsoft-backed, huge AI development company, online interface, etc., worth a large amount of money. And they got exposed as actually not being AI-based at all. They just were effectively a front for Eastern European coding, or South Asia. Yeah, so it's really neat because everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, just type in your request and we'll build it for you, and we can create this fancy web page." And it was just people in Asia typing it up for you as fast as they possibly could.
Just in a call center.
Just in a call center.
They were pretty early though. 2016, like AI wasn't where it was, but it is interesting. It went bankrupt by 2025. Like they didn't find a path in the last couple of years because there is tools that do this now. Like you can, I've used.
Are there?
Well, it's so fast. Like it's not like processing goes to a person. Like there's one that's like through ChatGPT. They have their store now, and you can like build me a front end, and it's like 10 seconds. And it builds you like a little front end that you
I'm
can,
just
like,
saying, copy paste. It's pretty quick.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Can we see how did they actually start breaking down?
Internally, cracks were widening. Inflated revenue projections, AI claims to secure funding, according to insiders. Sprawling global workforce and costly expansion plans, including new markets in Southeast Asia and Middle East. So yeah, it sounds like they just doing this. Maybe they were able to get some user base, but
and they were too
they
successful.
can never actually be profitable.
That's right.
They just burn through the cash.
Like Uber.
People do that. Yeah, pretty much. Builder.AI provided lenders with overstated financial projections and misrepresenting its revenue health. Oh, okay. So some financial fraud sprinkled in there too. That's nice.
Cooking the books.
Yeah. AI washing, a practice where...
Can you read that at all?
No.
Oh, that's
I'll read
perfect.
it. The incident also reinforces concerns about AI washing, a practice where companies package conventional technology services as artificial intelligence to attract funding. Builder.AI, industry observers note, was a textbook example. Its failure has reignited conversations around the need for technical due diligence in AI deals. That is crazy to think like they got however many, like what, 250 million from Microsoft.
Yeah.
And Microsoft, like
Didn't do
the
their
largest
diligence?
technology company in the world
Didn't research?
didn't do anything. They're
Whether-
like, sounds good, guys.
Yeah.
Here's your $250.
Yeah, I mean,
This
like
looks
in our
great.
business, people come by, right?
Yeah.
They want to ensure that you have things in place. They wouldn't have
Yeah.
done that?
Apparently not.
Well, they maybe had their best coders working on it, and they're like, yeah, just type it in the thing.
Yeah. You always see stories like this though, and I wonder if it just takes like companies get too big, too inflated in their VP levels maybe or something, and not enough due diligence. Because like GM that put that like $1 billion into Nikola, the electric truck company, and they didn't have any. The electric trucks they put in,
Nothing.
they went to conferences like to do their show of truck.
Yeah.
And this is like after they already had like hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yeah.
and their truck, the lights couldn't turn on. They had to hard plug it in underneath the stage to turn on the lights.
Oh, that's
like they
wicked.
couldn't do any. And they're like promotional video of like this truck driving. They just rolled it down a hill. Like it couldn't drive. They just rolled it down a
Unreal.
hill to like look like it could drive.
Awesome.
That's wild.
Do we want to include AI frac conversation or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have that article. Should we jump back to that? And
We train artificial intelligence to predict when production using our very own database, one of its kind, that lists as many as 92 features of the well, the surrounding rock and fracking design for about 6,000 well in 23 oil and gas fields.
I think
pretty amazing.
it's a good place for AI, to be honest with you. Much
Yeah.
like drilling, right?
Yeah.
There's parameters you need to control.
yeah,
ROP, weight on bit, pump rate, all that sort of stuff. Frac is very similar.
I know a lot of like the companies. They look at their ISIP to try and determine what their initial production could look like. So if this can use your trading and your rates to try and predict your ISIP, which then has a relationship to your initial production. I mean, it's not
Outlandish.
outlandish. Yeah, like maybe it could be feasible. I don't know how well it works, but
The only thing that gets me is like earlier we talked about how long it takes your company, for example, from drilling the well to fracking the well to actually get enough of the well life cycle in that they can make a decision about the actual effects of doing single point frac or limited
Limited entry.
Yep.
Yep.
frac versus traditional plug and perf. Like this paper has to be a theory until you get 5 years down the well life cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a couple, 2 to 5 years for sure to determine, which one might be more effective.
That's right.
Perforations or single point.
But AI used in this application, it can't be 2 or 3 or 4 years old. There's no way that they had access to AI tools. Oh, that's written in 2022.
yeah. So this is.
There's no
outdated.
way.
They probably made a lot of progress, but it's interesting at the bottom if you scroll down to that last section.
That's the opposite of scrolling down.
The one sentence. You can also further enhance this solution to promote environmentally aware and responsible fossil fuel recovery, putting the E in ESG. They just have that tagline.
ESG is huge, yeah.
Nothing about nothing previously talks about how it's more environmental in any way. They're just like, oh, it's also more.
It's also
environmental.
better. I do
Don't
that
ask
too.
why, but it is better.
Well, I mean, I can understand why, right? Because you're spending less time pumping,
Yeah.
less emissions outputted, right? If your frac is more efficient in the sense of placement of sand and pump rates, you're going to use less fluid effectively, right?
That's true. That's true.
More
So-
green.
That's fair.
I guess,
We also burn trees while we're fracking, which makes it more green.
I guess it depends on what they're saying. With this AI, they can predict production. So then, if they're using the AI to make decisions, are they actually fracking more efficiency? I suppose there would be some efficiencies gains, but is it more okay? We can frack more efficiently and get better production, or is it you don't need an OSR to make these calls now? So it's actually just eliminating. The benefit is more eliminating the guy than it is actually improving the fracks overall.
I think that's wicked you brought that up because I think, AI has a place for sure. It is going to create efficiencies. It's going to help people make decisions. But I guess the question, and we won't know this until we get farther down the road, but the question is, how many people is it going to replace? Mm-hmm. Does it replace experience? Mm-hmm. AI is smart and it learns for sure. Mm-hmm. But, there's consultants or OSRs out there, engineers. There's a broad wealth of people that have years and years of experiences in different formations. They know rock. They know these things. So I guess my question, being one of those guys, I'm not saying I'm an engineer or any of that stuff, but I've been in the industry for a decent amount of time and knowing some things, brings the question, is AI ever going to replace, the engineer that has 30 years experience in a certain formation?
Well, the other part is like going back to directional, my comment to the guys, and the biggest thing that I tried to train in the trainees whenever I had them was, if something doesn't feel right, raise your hand.
That's right.
Like that's, and so many times we ran a tool in and the trainee was like, hey, I'm
not getting the right size pulse.
Yeah, something's not right. Weird. It's like, get it out. And we'd look at it and we'd always find something. Like there was never a false positive when we had that. Or we'd spud the tool in. It's like that didn't feel okay.
Yep.
Get it out, check
and
all the torques.
AI runs in a window, right? And
That's
say
right.
if those problems are within a window, you're going to press on, right? AI is going to tell you.
Yeah,
you're
I
good
think
to
that's that would be the first thing, right? Where it's you need AI implemented in all these different solutions.
Yes.
Where it can help engineers for a long time.
Yeah.
Of course, eventually AI will see enough that AI will have greater experience than
Exactly.
any individual.
Yeah.
And at some point in the future, of course, with AI, how good it is, that there'll be a point where no engineer is better or has any experience that AI hasn't seen. But we're not there today, and I don't think we'll be there for
I
a long
think
time.
definitely, I agree. I think there's a transition period for sure. Absolutely. Until it gains enough experience to have those kind of sentiments in the back of its mind, right, or its brain saying, yeah, I remember this from that area, right? This data says we should try this. Oh.
Well, and the other side is as long as you have a person non-AI augmented somewhere in that chain, that actually, it's not necessarily the person's the weakest link, but the lack of consistent control. So like in the previous example, one of the torques on the tool was wrong.
Right.
If you had AI doing all the torques, or if you had machine of some sort doing all the torques, registering it, having that type of a checkbox, and then the computer goes and seats the tool, well, you don't have to worry about something coming untorqued because all the parameters are under control. But if it's a person using a wrench, click, 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 checking the tool, and then running it downhole, you can never make up for that type of human interface.
Correct.
So it's complete computer control from start to finish of a process. It eliminates some of the need for that feeling.
Yeah.
But as long as you have a person acting as one of the links in the chain, you always have that issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I think hydraulic fracturing is a perfect spot for AI to learn. Like it really is. There's so much data. You guys know as well as I do. You get all the data, right? Yeah. What do you do with it? You feed it to AI. You let it figure the issues, find the positives, and pick the top of that frac and redo it on other fracs.
That's right.
Right.
Well, and the other, like there have been, I've read books.
Yeah. One or two.
One or two, and one of the comments is like having not enough data and having too much data are synonymous. Like it leads to poor decisions. Where I think one of the challenges that experience brings is which data is truly relevant to the task that you're performing. I don't think AI has the problem with an overabundance of data.
Right.
Like it can't have a lack of decision making because there's too much data.
Yeah.
AI has the ability to crunch beyond what the human brain can.
Yeah, we have problems with large amounts of data.
That's right.
And I think in frac, it's especially the lack of data. Like most of what you're getting is just surface level, other than like fiber and a few downhole metrics. But that's always kind of the challenge of like we're trying to make these decisions about something that's downhole.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything telling us what's going on downhole. So you're trying to make these predictions of like, off of like, like what we were looking at the AI for frac. It's like, well, these guys are trying to make a prediction of downhole production off of like treating pressure, off of surface pressure. That's all. Only reading you back is this surface pressure.
Yeah.
You might grab some temperatures from water.
I'm actually really glad you went
see.
there. That's one of the sales pitches for our sonic system for IntelliSonic. Trademarked by Cold War Technology. The IntelliSonic system, the comment is pressure is always an action in relation to something else.
Yeah.
Like you can have something going downhole and stopping, or you can increase your rate, and your pressure curves will look remarkably similar with no ability necessarily to identify that. But with Sonic, you can actually hear what's happening downhole.
Yeah.
So as a young Cold War Technology with a newly minted IntelliSonic system, then we stumbled across Stage Completions.
Yep.
And the fine gentleman at Stage said, "Can you tell what's happening with our collets?"
Yeah.
So I don't think you were on site, but it was one of the first Sonic jobs and one of the first Stage jobs where 72 or 69 collettes were launched, and we could see the travel of the collet downhole through acoustic and through pressure wave.
Yeah, seeing the travel spikes is awesome. Like it makes decision making on our end unparalleled, right?
Yeah.
You can determine if something has slowed by the time in between. That gives us a higher reaction time, either by increasing pumps, shutting them down, trying to surge the wellbore. The decision making process is made very, very clear by cold bore.
If you have a little bit of sand, like is that something that happens downhole with?
Yeah, of course.
With like dog legs and sand, little sand eddies get stuck.
Yeah, you get dog legs, and then just the change between casing ID and our valve, you might get a little duning. It depends on, the flush previous or the flush prior to collet drop. And how the frac went off from the frac before, right? So there's always challenges. I mean, we're dealing with sand, fluid, and a horizontal leg that has, hills to climb and radiuses to turn. Right?
Yeah, well, they still use what is it, least lowest radius for measuring dog leg severity and prompting the well.
Yeah,
like you're taking a survey every 10 meters, 30 meters maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can have a huge bend and then straight, and then you take the survey and they average the angle over that whole thing.
Yeah.
You don't actually know what's happening downhole. You can
No,
guess.
I know they're taking much more readings than we used to take, right? When I was doing it, for sure. Yeah, like super single length, 13-meter joints. You'd get a survey every 13 meters and then calculate over your course length of 30 to get 30 meters to get a DLS. But yeah, I mean, some of these wellbores are pushing the limits of design as well too, right? Running 16, 18 degree severity.
In the lateral or in the build section?
Yeah, build section, right? So you're looking to get things down through like curve and up and down motion. So yeah.
Love it.
Interesting. Now have you seen the U-turn wells?
I have, yeah. That's where I nerd out for sure.
Yeah.
Like it blows my mind that you can just do a U-turn with directional tools and start coming back to the rig, right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you actually been on one? Because I've heard about it.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. But yeah, I saw like through LinkedIn and other platforms there that guys are, running these U-turns, which is super efficient, right?
Yeah, I heard I was talking to, his name is escaping me, but at Vital, they were doing one, and he was saying that, I was asking him about like any more challenges in the drilling sections of it, and he's like, it's no harder than the build when they're doing lateral. So it's not that, like drilling's at a point where it's really not a huge challenge for drilling. I guess it depends on the formation where they're at, but where they're at, it wasn't a big challenge. And then they get way longer laterals, and they can sometimes eliminate a whole well. They don't have to build now.
I wonder if they're fracking, because it's for our viewers at home, what we're talking about is they go down and then they drill a horizontal section and then they loop back. I wonder if they actually frack into itself, like if that section in between the U-turn is like total effective fracture is 100%.
I didn't go that far to understand with that scenario, the U-turn scenario, where how they're completing those wells. I don't know if that's...
I'm not sure either. Like, how big is the radius? Are they fracking along that build? I'm not sure.
They may be more of a SAG-D operation. I don't know. I didn't go that far. I just read the U-turn. I was blown away.
Be good for geothermal.
Yeah, it would be great. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. The cool thing is with something like that, getting to the depths that we get to these days, and you know, performing a U-turn in a wellbore and a lateral, like of course AI's got to be involved in that, right? Like you know, through data collection, AI's got to be telling you what you need to get a certain yield out of your drilling parameters, right? So ROP and, you know, weight on bit and
I
all
could
that
imagine.
sort of stuff.
I wonder if it's more due to the more or the higher adoption of rotary steerable.
Rotary steerable's huge, yeah.
Because that's something like 10 years ago, rotary steerable was a kind of a niche tool, niche application when it started hitting the market.
Yeah.
Especially with things like acoustic tools, not the telemetry side, but the actual acoustic monitoring of wellbore strength, etc.
And those rotary steerables, they're giving you real-time survey data all the time. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know exactly what they measure at, but like you get your tool face quite often through rotary steerable.
All right, how are we doing on the agenda?
Let's get a meme.
Over 700 Indians pretended to be AI Natasha, earning nearly $500 million. Back in 2016, two Indian entrepreneurs inspired by the booming promise of AI founded Builder.AI. Their main selling point, a chatbot named Natasha, supposedly capable of building apps from user prompts. The project quickly took off, thanks to Natasha, a so-called revolutionary no-code AI, often compared to ChatGPT. But there was one big catch. Natasha wasn't an AI at all. She was a team of over 700 real developers in India. The apps almost always had bugs, the code was unreadable, and core features often didn't work. But the team rushed to fix everything manually, all under the illusion of AI. The company operated like this for 8 years without raising much suspicion. During that time, it attracted $445 million in funding from top-tier tech investors. But in the end, the startup was declared bankrupt, and the entire scheme was fully exposed. The company's management is currently suspected of falsifying financial statements and misleading investors.
I wonder if they had actual like AI engineers, or they just like no attempt at all to actually do an AI.
Do you think they had AI cook their books?
That would be amazing.
That's the only place they actually had AI working, is to cook the books.
Is to cook the books? Yeah.
But if you had 700 engineers, so if we run some math, if we had 700 engineers working full-time for, what did they say, 8 years? And let's say they made 80,000 a year.
I don't know what an engineer makes in India.
Yeah, they're India engineers.
Probably
I don't know.
like 20,000.
Well, let's say at worst 50,000. 700 times 50,000 is
35 million?
35 million.
Nice
Years.
mathing.
I just could see the number. I read it faster.
Oh,
I saw all the
you're
zeros.
just like them.
And I got really confused. So they pulled in 445 million, and it cost them 35 million to do that. How is that not a sustainable business model?
Yeah, I don't know actually. That's kind of weird because they had a lot more money than that.
Yeah, it's like 10x.
Yeah,
They
could
could have
they
7,000.
should have went to for 10 years at least before they got caught.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Somebody did a shop tour is what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see your
Office tour.
Let's see your AI, and it's just like a single PC.
I'd like to meet Natasha.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. This has been another Nerdin Out with Cold Bore Technology. Big thanks to Josh Gray from Stage Completions
Thanks for having me, guys.
for joining us and sharing his insights on where completions and technology are headed. Thank you so much, Derek Mathewson, for hosting with me. From real-world challenges to future-forward thinking, it's clear the field is evolving and fast. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, share, and keep nerding out with us. Until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment.
Data in hand, we rock the bytes and we'll take a stand. Calculators flashing like a disco